Hello family and friends and YouTubers, it's Kim here from Hancock Homestead and Gardens, and today it is Fowl Friday, as in F-O-W-L, fowl, any bird that gives you eggs or meat. And today I want to talk about the chicken coops back here. You will notice that we have two. We have a large chicken house, and then we have a smaller chicken house, which is a brooder house. And the reason that this chicken house is so large is because John's grandparents wanted to raise meat chickens, a lot of meat chickens. Back then they did a lot of butchering, not only for themselves but for the rest of the family, and they even sold meat chickens to neighbors. So they would raise about 150 meat chickens in this chicken house. And at that time it only had the front door. That was all it needed, because meat chickens, you know, they only grow for about 8 weeks and then you butcher them. When John and I took over, we decided we wanted laying chickens, and so then we started doing some reconstruction to the building. And about 3 years ago, we really did a major reconstruction to the building. And I made a video of it at that time, and I will try to remember to put a link to it. Okay friends, well, I don't know if you can tell, but I am now in the shade. My battery died earlier and I had to go in and do a recharge, and whenever I came back out we have our deep shadows now, but I'm hoping you can still see me and everything else. And I was explaining chicken houses and chicken coops, and we have a large chicken house right here, and then we have a smaller chicken coop right back there. Now, obviously you do not need a huge chicken house in order to homestead. John's grandparents had put this chicken house in to raise meat birds. Then they would raise 150 to 200 meat birds every year, which they would butcher and then either keep for themselves, give to extended family who often helped with the butchering process, and then whatever was left they might sell to bring in some extra income for the homestead. John and I have converted this old meat chicken building into a layer chicken building, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And then on down there is a smaller chicken coop that they would use for egg laying chickens, that they would keep the eggs for themselves to use and may give out and may sell. So they did have both kinds of chickens, both the meat chickens and the layer chickens. Now, housing is very important for your birds because they have to have shelter that's going to protect them from the weather, such as rain and snow and wind and that kind of thing. They need shelter that's going to protect them from predators such as raccoons, possums, and those type of animals that like to eat chickens. They also, you know, just need shelter as a place to go and feel secure, okay? And the size chicken coop that you need depends on several factors, okay? Some of the factors that you're going to have to consider when designing your chicken coop, if you're going to build it yourself or buying a chicken coop, is you're going to have to decide what kind of chickens do you want to raise. Are you going to be raising primarily meat chickens? Are you going to be raising laying chickens? Will you be raising heavy breeds standard breeds or the bantams. The bantams are 3/4 the size of a normal chicken. So you have to think about those things. You also have to think about the roost. Are you going to have inside roost? Okay, and because if you have inside roost, which most chicken houses and chicken coops do, then that allows more floor space. All right, and then also, will you be adding an outside run, or will you be allowing them to free range, or are you going to just keep your birds confined? Now, most people either free range or they have a large run, but it does make a difference in how big your coop is going to be depending on those factors. Okay, so once again, type of bird, bird size, presence of roost, and whether you have a run or not will determine the size chicken coop that you need. Now, the standards go that you need to have so much square footage per bird, okay? And that all depends on if they are free ranged or have a large run, or if they're confined. Now, if you have a free ranging bird or a large run, you don't need as much square footage in your coop. So I wrote this down for you because I was hoping that maybe the visual would be easier to understand. So let me get my chart. All right, so here is the dimensions that you need to know. If you're going to free range or have a large run, and a large run is allowing 10 square foot per bird, that's considered a large run. If you have heavy breeds, you're going to need 4 square foot per bird, okay? If you have light breeds or standard breeds, you're going to need 3 square foot per bird. And if you have bantam breeds, then you're going to need 2 square foot per bird. Okay, now that's if they're allowed outside. If you have birds that are going to be confined, then you're going to have to increase their inside square footage. So for confined birds, for the heavy breeds, you're going to need 10 square feet. The light breeds or the standard breeds are going to need 8 square foot. And the bantam breeds are going to need 5 square foot. Okay, so that's going to help you decide how much space do you need. All right, now how do you determine square footage? Okay, well, you're going to have your width, okay, which is going this way, times your length, which is going this way. All right, my largest chicken house is 20 feet wide and 24 foot long. If I go with the lowest number, I can get 60 chickens on each side, or 120 chickens all together. Okay, so when I walk into the chicken house, I walk into this hallway here, and this hallway acts like a buffer zone. Normally I have tarps hanging up to act like even more doors. And the reason I have this buffer zone is because I used to open the door and they would go straight out. All right, I really need to get my tarps hung back up for doors. Okay, so if we walk around the corner here, there is a large room on this side. Okay, and the room on this side is 10 by 24. So that is 240 square foot. And 240 divided by 8, remember I always use 8 as my magic number, is 30. So I can easily get 30 chickens on this side, which is how many I have right now. All right, if I was going to go with the lowest number, because they do have an outside pen and sometimes they free range, so I could actually use the number 4. 240 divided by 4 would mean I could have 60 birds in here. But to me, personally, that's just too many. And you really want to watch your crowding, because if chickens get overcrowded, they will become cannibals and start pecking at each other. And if they see blood, they can actually kill another chicken, pecking it to death because of lack of space. Okay, so then if I walk down this hallway, and I come over here, I once again have another 10 by 24 foot area. So once again, I can either get 60 chickens in here if I go with the lowest required footage, or I can get 30 chickens in here if I go with what I like as my average. And since there is a pen, and they are allowed to free range on this side also, I could go with that lowest number and I could get 60 chickens in here. So, all right. Okay, so once again, my largest chicken house is 20 feet wide and 24 foot long. If I go with the lowest number, I can get 60 chickens on each side, or 120 chickens all together. All right, let's go here and look at the little chicken house. We use this as a brooder house a lot of times, where the baby chicks will start out. But you can use it, obviously, as a chicken house. All right, so this chicken house is 8 foot by 8 foot. So if I were to have chickens in there, I could easily get 8 to 10 chickens in there. So really, okay, so for homesteading, really all you need is like an 8 by 8 foot shed, and you can easily get anywhere from 8 to 10 chickens in there. The only reason we have the bigger chicken house is, like I said, because John's ancestors chose to use chickens . There once again are the trophies that my children won during 4-H years. We're missing one trophy. These 3 trophies were won by Paul. Karen was in 2002 and 2003. I don't know where the other trophy went, but I have the ribbons. And then Katie was in 2006 and 2007. So I think my kids did pretty well in showing chickens for 4-H. All right. Well, I hope maybe that will help some of you out with knowing how big of a chicken house to build and how much space to allow your chickens in order to be healthy and not overcrowded.